Okay, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Now, before I actually get into this video, I want to make an apology for the state of my appearance and hair, because I'm actually filming this super late at night. I've had so many technical issues and I did not expect to be refilming this right now. But here we are. We're gonna look past it because the point of this video is not to look at how gross I look. It is for me to sit down and tell you a story that has been waited for, anticipated, since pretty much forever. Every single time I do a you know or a tweet out, what do you want me to film, I always get responses flooded with story times of why you quit your job. So today I'm here with the truth behind why I quit my job. So before I start, I just want to clarify that this is not a dig at people I used to work with or the company I used to work for. Honestly, the place I worked was fine, the people I worked with was fine. This is more stories about the public and the people that used to come into the cafe. So if you didn't know, I actually used to work in a cafe in Beverley. I'm not going to name it just because I don't want to name it. I don't want to disclose where I worked. But I worked in a brand of cafe that you've probably heard of, and it's not Starbucks or Costa. But anyway, you've probably heard of them, and I used to work for them, and I actually worked in the same cafe for a year. I got the job as soon as I turned 16, and I quit in November, which was pretty much exactly 1 year on. So I had the job for long enough to be able to have a few story times to tell you. Okay, just before I start the stories, if this is the first time you've seen my face and you've been on my channel, it would mean the world if you could click subscribe down below, because you might want to see some more videos from me after you've watched this, you never know, so be sure to hit that button. But without further ado, I'm just going to get straight on. I'm going to start with the story that annoys me most, because every single time I think about this, it still annoys me as much as when it happened. And I'm going to call this the croissant incident. Okay, so basically I'm going to set the scene for you. It was a Sunday afternoon, it was probably raining, it's always raining, and I was stood behind the counter counting the hours down until I could go home. And this couple come into the cafe and they ask for a ham and cheese croissant, to which my response is, oh, I'm really sorry, we've just sold out. Because we just sold out. And the man, so that they're a couple, there's a man and there's a woman, and they look at each other in disbelief at the fact that the cafe might have sold out of a ham and cheese croissant. My initial response, my reaction that I've been taught to say was, we could offer you something different instead, a ham and cheese toasty, a ham and cheese baguette, it's basically the same thing. And they look at each other and they tut and roll their eyes. So they look at me and they're like, oh, we don't want to be told that by somebody like you. Can you please go and get an authoritative figure that isn't a minor? To which I'm like, that is so rude. That is just pure rude. No matter who serves you what food and no matter who tells you what, I am just as capable as somebody that's older than me. But I put on my best fake smile and I'm like, of course, I'll go and get my manager. And I'm like, right, okay. So my manager comes out and tells them the exact same thing, that we're out of stock, because we were out of stock. And they tut and they roll their eyes and they're like, oh, we didn't want to be speaking to somebody that was a minor. And I'm just looking at them like, are you for real? This is the 21st century. Please treat me with equal respect. I'm obviously old enough to be in employment, so treat me like a human and not like a 4-year-old. So I'm there smiling, but I want to shoot you. And they just roll their eyes at each other, tut, and strut off. That did not need to happen. If there is a cafe that's out of stock of some food, you do not need to get a manager involved, and you don't need to speak to somebody in that way. It's just food. Calm down. You can get some more. We had loads more. They could have just chill. Okay, the second story that kind of makes me laugh but also kind of annoys me and upsets me is the one about the cake. I'm gonna call it that. There was a mother and there was a daughter, and they came into the cafe together, and the mum ordered 2 cakes. I can't remember what they were, but these were massive great cakes. I'm not talking a small slice, I am talking full on, enough to feed a family of 4 size cake. Harry stood behind the camera. Harry, how big were these cakes?
Big.
Massive, huge. And she orders 2 for herself, so naturally I presume one is for her and one is for her daughter, but it turns out no, that's not the case. So her daughter comes up behind her, who is about 20, so not a young girl, an adult, and she orders a cake for herself, and the mum goes, no, you can't have a cake. So I'm kind of ugh, stroppy mother situation alert. The daughter orders a Black Forest Gatto, to which I go and get it for her. I bring it out and I give it to her, and the mum's like, no, you're not having that. All you ever do is eat unhealthy. The only thing you ever eat is Nutella. To which I kind of laugh because I'm like, oh, me. The mum literally is like, no, you're not buying that. You're not buying that. This woman, is paying for it herself, so I just give it to her. She pays, and I kind of think nothing of it. It's like, oh, stroppy parent, parent situation, let them leave. They take their cakes over to the corner of the cafe and they sit at the back where they're kind of like with the rest of their family. So there's like 5 or 6 of them by this point. And there weren't that many other people in the cafe. And it's about a 2-minute break and suddenly you hear this argument starting. And it's literally about the same thing. And I'm not talking a quiet argument, I'm talking a full-on family domestic fight in the corner of the cafe about the fact that her 20-year-old daughter eats too much Nutella. And at first I was like, surely this is a wind-up, like maybe they're filming a secret TV show or something in the cafe, but no, they're just genuinely having a fight about how much Nutella her daughter eats, and they're full-on going at her. I'm not talking like small insults about her diet, I'm talking full-on like, you're gonna get diabetes, you're gonna die, you're so unhealthy. Like, I'm not exaggerating. And they're sat in the corner of the cafe, and me and the person I was working with had to take ourselves into the back because we were crying with laughter, but we didn't know what to do. By this point, everybody else in the cafe was looking at them, getting up and leaving, so we were like, oh my god, we're gonna have to stop them, we're losing customers. People were walking past as if they were gonna come in, looking and being like, and like leaving again, and we were like, oh my god, what do we do? Because this was like a full-on argument, like people were standing up out of their chairs, and I was like, there's a time and a place and it is not here, like leave. Okay, the second to last story I'm going to tell you is one that I think you'll relate to if you live in Beverley, and if you don't live in Beverley, I'm just going to set the scene. This is kind of like a middle class, old-fashioned, traditional town in the middle of nowhere, so it's that kind of vibe. People think they're better than they actually are, and it sounds judgmental, but you'll agree with me after I tell this story. So this woman comes in that is like the personification of stuck up, and it's mean, but it's true. So she's got this like really like slick bob, and she's about 60 years old. She comes in on her own, and she's got like pearls around her neck, and she's carrying a Burberry handbag, and she walks in and she's got these heels on, and she stands at the counter and she's like, a cup of tea, and she doesn't say please or anything, but I didn't even really notice that. I was used to rude customers by this point. So I make the cup of tea and I give it to her, and I'm like, £2.75 please, as she is stood ready to pay with 2 £20 notes in her hand. So I'm opening the till up and she's like, £2.75, that is a disgrace. Why would I want to pay £2.75 for a cup of tea when I could get it for 50p? 1, where on earth are you going to get a cup of tea for 50p? 2, you don't need to talk to me like that because I don't set the prices. I'm just there to give you the stuff. Like, you don't need to say that. You just shut up. Me being polite and being trained well, I was like, oh, I'm really sorry, that's just the prices. I've made you the cup of tea now, so that'll be £2.75. And she looks me dead in the eye, like full on in my eye, and was like, well, I won't be drinking here, in her really stuck up posh accent, and put her 2 £20 notes back into her mulberry purse, and then put that into her Burberry handbag. And I'm not like exaggerating this at all, this actually happened. She looked at me, she like flicked her hair and strutted out the cafe, and I was just left with this cup of tea, and I was like, really? Come on, like, I was not asking you to pay for the whole cafe, I was asking you to pay for the cup of tea. When you ordered it, were you expecting me to tell you it was free? Like, what were you wanting? I was just kind of stood there like, oh my god, I hate this town sometimes. Okay, and then the last story is kind of not a story, it's just the amount of general stupid comments I used to get by the general public, and it sounds mean, but it's true. Like, the public are so annoying and so rude, and the amount of times I used to get this situation was unbelievable. So basically, if you walked into the cafe, you'd see me kind of standing behind a counter which was full of food, and I'm not exaggerating this, it was full of food. Like, Harry, how full was it?
It was full of food.
It was full of food. Basically, the amount of people that come in go, oh, do you sell food? What do you think all the food is there for? Like, it's not there for display. So I'm like, oh yeah, it's just everything that's out in the counter. And then they go, oh, so do you sell soup? Which we didn't. So I'd be like, oh no, sorry, it's just everything that's out in the counter. Oh, so do you sell toast? No, sorry, it's just everything that's out in the counter. Oh right, so it's just everything that's out in the counter then. And I'd be like, yes, it's just everything that's out in the counter. By this point, I lost the will to live, so kind of sometimes I'd just burst out laughing because I just could not. I was like, really? I'm 16 and you're an adult and I've just told you 3 times you're either taking the mick and having me on or you're very stupid. And like, obviously you can't say that because this is a job and I wanted to keep my job and get a good reference, so I was really polite and nice. But inside, I'm like, come on, are you joking me? Like, are you actually joking me? Another thing that used to really wind me up, and this is the last story, to make it clear to you, the cafe I used to work in was within like a department store, and just purely because I didn't actually work for the department store, I'm going to name it so that you get a bit more of a feel for it. So the cafe I used to work in was within Debenhams, like inside Debenhams. And it was like right at the back upstairs, and as you walked in there was like a big clear sign saying that you can't pay on Debenhams cards. And to be honest, I'm not really sure who pays for things on a Debenhams card, but apparently quite a lot of people do. So there's a big sign as you walk in, you can't pay for food here with a Debenhams card, apologies if this is an inconvenience, that kind of sign. Then there is another one on the counter, then there's another one, a massive sign plastered to the till, and still you would get countless people come up and go, oh, can I pay on a Debenhams card? Can you read? No, you can't pay on a Debenhams card. But again, you have to do the really polite voice, like, oh, I'm really sorry, no, we don't take them. But the amount of times people would order their food, we'd prepare their food, they'd get to the paying point, and they'd go, here you go, and hand me a Debenhams card, and I'd be like, oh, I'm really sorry, we don't take Debenhams cards. And then they'd be like, oh, well, I don't have any other money with me. Right, well, I'm not giving you it for free, so what do you want me to do about it? You've had 4 warnings that you can't pay on that card, and here you are, trying to pay on that card. And I was just like, oh, I'm really sorry, look at all this food you've just wasted because now you can't pay and you're gonna walk off. And sometimes this would be like a whole family meal kind of level, and I'd just stand there like, some people. Okay guys, basically what I want you guys to take from this video is if you go into a cafe, treat the people that are working there with respect, give them a smile. They've probably had a really long day and like a 6-hour shift where they might not have sat down, so just be respectful. And if your food isn't ready like instantly, just, that's okay. It's such a first world problem, it's just going to take a little bit of time, and I have found so much more respect now for people that work in cafes because it's really, really not an easy job. Yeah, so that might just make somebody's day, and you could start a conversation with them and it might just change their day, so do it, okay? But anyway, other than that, I think I'm going to go. I've definitely got a lot more stories I could tell, so if you enjoyed this, be sure to let me know by giving it a thumbs up, and there might be a part 2, or I'd be happy to do another story time if you liked the way I did this. It was super chill, super laid back, because I filmed it so many times now that it's just, this is what you're getting. So yeah, let me know in the comments what other kind of story time you might like me to do. As I've already said, if you haven't seen my face before if you haven't seen my face before be sure to subscribe down below and follow my social media for more little ranty story times like this over on my Instagram and my Twitter, which are, as always, linked down below. But other than that, I'm gonna go, and I shall see you on Saturday with another weekly vlog. Bye guys!